Okay, welcome everybody to this introduction to the Fool card. This is part of the series that we'll be talking about the entire tarot deck, and we are going to start at the start today. So we're going to go over the very first card, or card 0, as it is in the standard tarot decks. Most of them will start with 0 instead of 1, so that's something to keep in mind as we go forward. We're just going to cover the very basics of this card, kind of the top level stuff. We're going to look over some of the key concepts, negative meanings, positive meanings, and then some of the general messages that this card usually carries with it. With that said, let's get started with the key concepts. There we go. Gotta figure out how to work this. Okay, so these are just some of the key concepts behind the Fool card. So when it comes up, you can kind of use these as a quick reference as to the big picture behind this particular card. So you can see them on the left real quick. Innocence, kind of emptiness. First steps, starting of a journey. New job, perhaps, if it's a career question. New situation. Fresh look at things. And kind of childlike nature. And that's kind of represented in most of the artwork depicting the Fool. He's always kind of got his head thrown back and looking up at the sun and the sky, and really he needs to be looking down at the ground. As you can see, he is about to walk off a cliff, but his little dog is trying to alert him to such danger. So there is a sense of kind of being watched over. You do have some protection, some guardian kind of watching over you generally with the Fool card. But these are the big ideas, so it's always something new. It's the very beginning of something. It's not generally a kind of, it doesn't mean somebody's dumb, although it can. Usually it means somebody's very new to something. They're starting a new journey. So those are the big key concepts. Let's get into some of the positive aspects of this card. So should you have the Fool come up in a reading, these are some of the good meanings behind it. And if you use reversals, obviously these probably won't apply. And it will depend on where it comes up in a reading too, and how it's related to other things. But if you feel that the Fool is bringing a positive message to you while you're reading your cards, these are some of those meanings. So real quick, we've got wonder, a sense of awe, being kind of appreciative of things, really acknowledging things, really seeing things for the first time, so to speak, really appreciating them. A real sense of potential with this card. It's the Fool really isn't anything yet. He's kind of the ace of the major arcana, so he's not really been molded by the journey. He's fully open to experience, to wisdom, to knowledge, and unfortunately to lies and deceit. He's also unaware, but being open by itself, I've chosen the list as being a positive thing. In this instance, it may not always be so. He's open to learning, like we just mentioned. He's ready to learn, and he's going to learn either through more traditional book learning, more rigorous, rather, or just through learning by experience, life lessons, so to speak. And he's generally seen as kind of a joyful character. He doesn't have too many worries because he doesn't know anything to worry about yet. So he's very much just open and experiencing and ready to see what life brings. Which is, it's a good state to be in, honestly. Of course, it does come with it some dangers, which we will get into now. So let's move over to some of the negative aspects of the Fool. So I'll just read these quick. So basically the Fool tends to be rather naive. There's a sense of danger because he doesn't know what to look out for. He's looking at everything in a sense of wonder and openness, and he may look at the wrong thing or look at it incorrectly. There's a sense of ignorance. Obviously he doesn't know things, so if this is in a position of it may warn you that you need to learn a few things. You don't know as much as you might think. There's a sense of folly, as we talked about before. He's usually pictured almost walking off the cliff, which is a kind of a dangerous adventure. You may be setting off in error or in a direction that you may have wanted to avoid had you known more at the start. There's a sense of being blinded, just like we said, not really. In this case, I suppose he's blinded by the sun, or blinded by his the overwhelming experience of approaching something for the first time, not really paying attention, unaware. Yeah, that's more the same there. And there's a sense. Sometimes the fool can indicate somebody who's willingly foolish, willingly ignorant, willingly blundering around. This can happen. You can act foolishly in a bad way too. So this might be a call to really quit clowning around and focus and pay attention to things that you may be dancing around or ignoring. So there is a kind of willful ignorance that can come up with the fool. So that's it for the negatives. Let's get on to the big messages behind the fool. So generally when the fool shows up in the reading, these are the things that you can kind of expect here. So it's a sense of going forward. It's definitely a sense of starting something new. This is not familiar territory. And if it is, you'll be revisiting it in a new way. You will have your eyes reopened. You'll be seeing things as if they were new. Kind of going with the flow. The fool doesn't really have a direction. He's just out wandering around, seeing what he sees. It is important to remember to look down once in a while if you are indicated by the fool card yourself, or if the situation is. Do remember to, get your head out of the clouds and kind of look down. Listen to the little dog that's barking on the card every now and again. And speaking of the little dog, there is a sense of protection. You're not alone. You do have backup, and you are protected in many ways that may not be obvious. But by the grace of others, you may proceed as you learn and grow, as the fool does. There's a sense of freedom. The fool has no direction, no real concrete goals. He's just out there moving around. So the fool is a very free card. Free heart, free mind. Definitely an open approach to things. As we kind of mentioned this before, there's a call to pay attention. To detail in many cases. While things may be overwhelming and wonderful and beautiful and brand new, you do really still want to try and muster some discernment. If you are able, this may be such a state that is so new you are unable to make discerning judgments. And that can be the case. That's not always bad, but if you are able to, really do try and pay attention to the details as you travel on a road similar to the road the fool takes throughout the tarot. And that's about it, guys. That's it for the Fool. That's a very brief overview, but yeah, feel free to use this video. You can pause it on these little tiles and kind of read over the key words and get a better sense of this card for yourself. And I hope it was helpful for everyone. There's plenty of information for these cards. You can really get in depth if you want to, but I recommend practice and exposure. So really kind of sit down with these cards, think about the meanings, think about the images, and see what they mean to you, because that's really all that matters in the end, as far as your own tarot readings goes. And please let me know what you think about the Fool card, what it does mean to you, your own interpretations, your own inspirations, I suppose. Leave those in the comments and let everyone know, and really, start up a conversation about this particular card. And we'll see what we can learn together. That's it for the Fool, guys. Thanks a lot for stopping in. Like, comment, whatever, do the YouTube stuff. I will talk to you guys later.